The Expanse's creators are working on a whole new sci-fi adaptation for Prime Video. Their upcoming show seems to have one make-or-break difference that separates it from The Expanse and proves how it will be significantly different in terms of storytelling. While the show in question, The Captives' War, is also based on a book series written by The Expanse's authors, Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank, its narrative has little to do with the grounded political and interplanetary conflicts that define The Expanse. It is a little surprising that, instead of completing The Expanse's run and capturing the full scale of its source material on the small screen, its creators are working on a whole new adaptation. At the same time, though, the decision makes sense since continuing the Expanse series would come with many logistical and creative challenges. With that said, The Captives' War success is not guaranteed on Prime Video even though The Expanse is remembered as one of the greatest sci-fi adaptations of the century. Compared to The Expanse, it has one key difference that could make or break it in one season itself. Captives' War didn't need another James Holden. James Holden from The Expanse fits more into the idealistic standards for heroes in fictional storytelling. In the early chapters, he believes in complete transparency and cannot stand any form of injustice. He never truly gives up on his moral compass and allows his selflessness and empathy to guide even his most difficult decisions. The Captives' War's David Alcor is nothing like Holden. Unlike Holden, David often operates from the shadows and shows immense pragmatism. His strength as one of the main characters in The Captives' War lies in his ability to make the best of an unspeakably terrible set of choices. However, his strategies and decisions can often seem brutal and morally complex because he prioritizes humanity's long-term survival at the cost of betraying their resistance against the overarching alien threat. The Expanse makes it evident that Holden's moral idealism comes as a consequence of him being raised by a loving family. David, on the other hand, intentionally forces people to underestimate him, which allows him to carefully pull many a questionable string from behind the scenes. While both characters are heroic in their own ways, David is far more layered in the sense that he is constantly forced to weigh morality against survival. Where Holden acts according to what he believes is right, David operates with the understanding that every choice comes with catastrophic consequences. The Captives' War's upcoming adaptation benefits from the fact that David is nothing Holden. It allows the Prime Video sci-fi show to establish its own unique identity instead of constantly being compared with shows like The Expanse. David's brutality highlights how Captives' War will be a very different show. David's pragmatism in The Captives' War is, in a lot of ways, a reflection of the scale of the book trilogy story. While The Expanse barely takes the scope of its story beyond human conflicts, The Captives' War captures humanity's insignificance and struggles against incomprehensibly advanced alien species. Considering the scale of the threat they deal with, The Captives' War's characters are also forced to measure their optimism and morality, making them rely more on difficult sacrifices instead of idealistic heroism alone. The Captives' War also focuses less on introducing hard sci-fi concepts like the ones featured in The Expanse and instead leans more heavily into the psychological and the moral burden of surviving under the shadow of an overwhelmingly superior alien civilization. This makes its story far more brutal and cynical than that of The Expanse. Since the creative powerhouses behind The Expanse are developing the Captives' War's adaptation for Prime Video, audiences will likely see several parallels between the two space operas. However, the core of their stories will be significantly different, and, if executed well, The Captives' War will etch its own identity in the sci-fi genre.